PM GST. And we have many other languages, e-Bookery show. And of course, we have empowering talks and all that. So all the details, if you join our WhatsApp group, we can give you all the details. Please, those who are new here, please join our WhatsApp group also. So it is actually a privilege for all of us to meet and talk to many authors, and they usually present, the authors present their books also, and they give reviews of other people's book also. So we have an opportunity to listen to many authors and many books, and this is the 57th episode of e-Bookery show, and I'm so happy to have two best speakers here about some two amazing books. So first speaker will be introduced by Anil Thomas sir now. Before that, we usually have a procedure of telling a small story, giving a small story, model story, or something related to our e-Bookery show. So this time I request Shamla ma'am to tell us a small story. So Shamla ma'am, please take over.
Good evening, everyone, and thank you for the introduction, Sapna. Sindhu. Normally we start with stories when we were small. It was like once upon a time. So today I want to start a story like that. Once upon a time, long, long ago, a man was walking through the forest, and he saw a tiger in a cage. The tiger, as soon as he saw the man approaching, he pleaded with the man, "Please release me from the cage. I want to be free. Please release me." The man said, "No, do you think I am a fool? After I release you, you will pounce on me and eat me. So why should I release you? I'm not going to release you." So the tiger pleaded with him again and again. He cried, he pleaded and he cried. So the man became a little emotional and he released the tiger from the cage. The tiger, as soon as he was released, he pounced on the man and said, "What a fool you are. What can stop me from eating you now?" It was the man's turn to plead with the tiger, "Please do not kill me. Please do not kill me. I'm pleading with you." So the tiger said, "All right, whoever comes in front of you, the next two things that come in front of you, you can ask them to save yourself from me." A buffalo comes across. So the man goes to the buffalo and says, "Please save me from this tiger." The buffalo says, "I gave you men milk all my life and you gave me only dry grass. And now when I am dried up, you put a yoke on me and you make me toil day and night. No, I'm not going to save you." And the buffalo moves away. The tiger and the man at the same time see a jackal coming by. The man tells Jackal the story of how the tiger was in the cage and how he promised that he will not kill him. And on that promise, he released him from the cage. And now he has gone back on his promise and not releasing him and wants to kill him. So the jackal said, "I don't understand the story at all." So the man explained the story again. Again, the jackal said, "I don't understand the story at all. You said tiger in the cage in the tiger, cage in the tiger. I don't understand at all." So the tiger was very irritated. He went into the cage and said, "This is how I was in the cage. It is not cage in the tiger, but tiger in the cage." Immediately, the jackal locked the cage. Very cunningly, he locked the cage and saved the man. The moral of this story is, every judgment should be passed after due diligence. We should give lot of thought about it before we pass any judgment. The man opened the cage without giving any thought about it, but the jackal, with his cunningness and shrewdness, saved the man. So every judgment should be passed only after giving due thought to it. I hope you like the story. Thank you.
Yes, definitely, Shamla. Nice story. And another moral is that tigers will be tigers always.
Yes,
So sometimes it is difficult to change tigers.
you
That's
can't change the
it. Okay.
tiger.
Yes. And jackals also we associate them with, I mean, cunningness, but
Cunningness,
uh,
yes.
together with intelligence also. He is
Yes.
very clever to do something. Okay, over to
Actually,
Anil.
the reference to is to a jackal, but it's basically the man's cunningness that jackal
Yes,
represents
that is
here.
what.
I would.
It is a metaphor. It is a metaphor for the world's cunning ways. Okay, Anil, over to you for introducing the first speaker. Please continue.
Yeah, thank you so much. Thank you for that small story, short story, wonderful story. Before we get into the hardcore topics today, thank you, Sindhu. Thank you, Shamla, for that wonderful performance. Uh, Very good evening to all of you. We are very few in numbers today, but we have two amazing speakers on board today, Author Shakti and Officer Nitusmita. Three Laws of Performance, a process improvement book. I couldn't finish reading this book, but it's a wonderful book. A proven system for gathering all of an organization's employees around a new vision and ideas for making the vision stick when something at work is not going smoothly. I mean, it sounds so familiar to all of us. Managers struggle with what part of the problem to tackle first, and they struggle again. Do they start with the cost reduction or should they go for process improvements first? The authors who have helped hundreds of companies and individuals change and improve say spend time and money adjusting systems in which people operate rather than targeting people and the process. And so this is a wonderful business book. Let me introduce Shakti. Shakti is a new author of fiction on the block. He currently resides with his wife, Sanchita, in the city of Kolkata in India. Together, they are the proud parents of two lovely daughters. Passionate about exploring new places and cultures, Shakti has been a traveler all around. He remains lifted by the thought around this globe. He remains a unique name. Shakti uses a wide-angle narrative style in his writings, into which he brings his rich global perspective and life experience. An engineer by profession, a gold medalist from IIM Bangalore. And thank you so much for coming on to e-Bookery platform. Welcome on to e-Bookery platform, sir.
Thank you so much, Anil, and thank you everyone who's taken the trouble to be here today. It's my first time I'm on this forum, and I thank Anil and the other founder members. So, as Anil just spoke about the book, what I've done is I have just to structure, because it's a all very powerful things are very simple. And these are very simple concepts, astoundingly simple, as I just take you through. But I structured it through a PowerPoint. So with your permission, if I may just, show the PowerPoint, it won't be too long. And so just a minute, I would ask whether you are able to see my screen.
Yes.
You can, okay,
Yes.
very good.
Yes, sir. Yes.
You can, okay. Just a minute. Let me just then, 1 minute. I'm unable to, I don't know what happened. Something is happening here.
Live show.
I should be able to, I don't know why it is going into settings. Sorry, I'll just go out again with your permission and I will come back again. Oh,
yeah, yes, please, sir. Close the presentation and then maybe load it all over again.
Yeah, I think I'll have to close this.
And then load it again.
And I'll just do it again because I don't know what it was. My God. I don't know what. sorry about this. It's never happened like this, and I'm wondering what exactly happened.
It happens with us every time, so it's all right.
No, I mean, I'm pretty familiar with sharing on Zoom and on this thing, but 1 minute, please. Yeah, so I'll just try again. Yeah. I don't know, there is something going wrong today. And so I will have to.
Sir, even if you're not able to, that is show us the slide. Maybe you can.
No, I wanted to bring it as large screen,
like this,
but
small screen.
But you can see the screen, right?
You can see the
Absolutely.
screen.
We can
What
see
is the
still.
issue?
We
You
can
can't
see
go
it.
to
Yes.
screen show.
Yeah, that is the
So
thing.
one by one, maybe you
Go
can
to
take
view,
it.
sir. You might want to go to view
No, view.
on top. You see home, and on the almost the second last page.
Yeah, view.
Try clicking that.
Yeah, I'm
Now,
clicked, and then I
here you
have.
say,
Slideshow. Go to the slideshow. Slideshow.
1 minute. Slideshow, slide master.
No. You go to. You are in the view now. You
No,
move
not view.
toward right.
View. Instead of that, slideshow.
Yeah, but slideshow. Yeah, okay. Yeah.
Yes, from the
Yes.
beginning.
Then from beginning.
Yeah, okay.
From beginning.
Okay. Thank you very
Bingo.
much.
Collaboration.
Yes,
Bingo.
Ready
Thanks,
for
Anil.
performance.
No, but knowing
See how
Shakti
badly I started in terms of
can I speak? Can I speak?
the 3 laws of performance. Okay. So the
Can
3
I
laws of
can I
performance.
speak, Shakti?
Yeah.
Can I speak? Knowing Shaktida's penchant for mystery and surprises, I think this upset was scripted by Shaktida, and then he found a way, and now he'll teach us what are the 3 laws of performance. Okay. I'm sure this upset was scripted by him only to involve us all together. I'm sure about it.
Okay. Thank you so much. Okay. So this particular book I had read some years back. And then, the interesting thing was that when the pandemic started the last year, somehow my mind went back to this book. So the book is really about a blueprint for achieving performance breakthroughs. And as it says, it talks about laws. A law is a law because it needs to hold under all conditions. That's very important. So when I revisited it recently during the pandemic situation, I was trying to see its impact and whether it sort of holds true in such a disruptive kind of a environment. And it reminded me one but very, very important thing that 3 things: reflecting, assessing, and refocusing will always hold true under any situation, including turbulence. So the book actually, the book is there, and it was written by 2 authors. Steve is really the CEO of Vanto, which is a consulting firm, and he has consulted more than 300 organizations and led more than 100,000 people through organizational transformation. So, in fact, I was very fortunate to do a 2 weeks program where Steve was one of the speakers and moderators, being a leader. I mean, that was many years back, and he's just incredible. The other person is, can you see the screen?
Yes.
Yes, sir.
So the other person is Dave Logan, who teaches management and organization in an MBA program. He's also the senior partner of a company called Culture Sync, which is a management consulting organization, and he specializes in cultural strategy and change, really. Now, let's look at what the pandemic really showed us. Pandemic, if I were to be speaking from a slightly conceptual angle, there's a word called Black Swan, and it's a Black Swan event. And a Black Swan event really is unpredictable because of its widespread ramifications. what that implies is that none of us has faced anything like it before. So what happens? The question that comes to my mind, and I'm sure it'll come to your mind, what happens when we are confronted with something about which we know nothing about? And there are all kinds of black swan events we have gone through in our lives. At least I can think of three. Of course, we have the corona pandemic happening now, the COVID-19, the financial crisis, which happened in 2007-8, was a black swan event. The internet, which came in the 90s, was a black swan event. A black swan event by its very nature is neither good or bad. It's how it occurs to you, how you respond to it is what makes it so. And of course, just like, Anil talked about, being a debut author, authored a book. When the pandemic started last year and I was four months in a lockdown, that was the time I could write the book. So, there are positive things which happen. Now, the interesting thing that sort of made me think about, this particular book was, and when I was looking at the pandemic and I was looking at all kinds of things happening, as you can see on the screen, people were speaking, things were the way they saw the things. So when the pandemic started last year, I saw companies suddenly confronted with drying demand and business volumes. I deal with a few organizations in terms of, some training. I do workshops and I could see that large companies. So there was one company where 10% budgetary expenses had to be cut. They said that let's cut 10% budgetary to somehow sustain operations. When that happened, it led to some very star performers in that company who left the organization. They left in frustration, sensing, but we are working so hard. There seems to be a lack of support, acknowledgement. The company lost its teeth. And then they suddenly realized when the demand started coming back, they had to urgently recruit back talent. And when they did, it was at a much, much higher cost. So, what Anil mentioned a little while back, as one provides a solution to a problem, it leads to a new problem. And we see it happening not only in organizations, it happens in our own lives. We prioritize, we take something. Why do we, and we get into this heightened sense of doom. Why do we remain unsure of what to do in such a situation? Now, look at this particular image. Why do we remain unsure and get disrupted? We get disrupted from such events, about which we really do not have too much of an insight. We don't know what to do. The only one reason why we remain unsure and get disrupted is because we are trying to predict. We are predicting based on one's past. We as humans are conditioned to use our past experience as a kind of a light to throw, to allow us to make sense of anything that we are confronting with. But when a situation like a black swan event, which has no past precedence, hits us, we are not able to predict. And you would have seen symptoms of that all around us. We keep on working on probabilities, and I'm an engineer, and so I like numbers. And whenever I try to work on probabilities, it just doesn't work. So the thought then comes to me, and that is why the 3 laws of performance become very important, is we have to shift from the mindset of probabilities to that of possibilities. Now, have you ever wondered, and I will just bring up this slide, I will not read it, we see this happening all around us. People getting disengaged, resigned, frustrated. Organizations, burnt out culture. They are losing to competitors. They have a command and control structure which tell people to do. How do you shift from these to empowered states? The 3 laws of performance really, are laws which provide you a way forward and if I may use the word, recipe to do this. And so that way it is very, very powerful. For every problem, there is a future that's already been written, been written about it. this future doesn't get talked about. This remains at our gut level. And whether we give it words or not, it is right there. And we call it the default future. And each of us, when we are faced with a situation, this future we have, so does every organization. Now, what does this future do? Let's look at a default future we are living into. So we have me as a person and the organization. So this default future really comes from my assumptions, hopes, fears, resignations, cynicism, my past lessons. And when I shift that future at the organizational level, it leads, what shows up is a company which is disparate, cluttered, inauthentic. There are all kinds of unsaid, unresolved issues. There are rackets, and we'll talk about rackets in a little more detail. I'll talk about a racket which I had some years back. And, conflicting priorities. Now, this, unfortunately, is the default future, whether we like it or not, as individuals and as organizations we are living into, which brings us to the first law of performance, which basically says how people perform, and I put the word behave, correlates to how situations occur to them. Now, correlation is a very interesting word. Correlation doesn't mean that when something occurs to me in a particular manner, I perform. It is not a cause effect. It is a dance. Both of them happen together. Both of them happen together. What I would like to stress here is that our actions, your actions, relate to how the world occurs to us, me, you, not the way the world really is. Important to understand this difference. It occurs to me in a particular manner, but that is not the world. I think that is my world, but that is not the world. And the other thing that happens is, at the core, the problem is what is termed as a reality illusion, which is that whenever I see something out there, I assume that everybody sees it exactly in that same manner. We assume, each person assumes that the way things occur for him or her is how it is occurring for me. And this, unfortunately, creates the issues, that disparateness within organizations, the difference, the conflicts. We do not realize that, the actions of the other person may actually come from the way a situation occurs to him or her completely different. So this is something which we need to understand very, very clearly. How people perform correlates to how situations occur to them. Very simple, but very powerful. If you think about it, you will see it holds true in each and every case, every day when you go out and you look at life and you see situations, it is working every time. That's why it is a law. I bring in a concept and I call it the already always listening. We sort of think that when I'm hearing, or when you are hearing me speaking to you now, and I get a sense that, oh, whatever I'm saying, the way I'm trying to convey, it is getting conveyed. It is as if I am talking to you and you are holding an empty vessel, a blank slate. It doesn't happen. It just does not happen. There are all kinds of things in front which stop what is landing for you, the listening part, to hearing part, to what you actually listen. And there are all kinds of things, your assumptions, your beliefs, your worldviews, all kinds of things. And this aspect not only is about what we are listening to, also what we see, what we understand, what we interpret. It holds true. So, what does our already always listening do? Somebody talked about judgment, right? And that story had a thing about we are judging. And you have to be very careful when you are judging. And this is exactly what we do. I am thinking when I'm listening, and when you are listening to me now, you are thinking, oh, what he's saying? Is it right or wrong? Do I agree or disagree? Is it true or false? No, I know better than what this fellow is telling me. I cannot be wrong. I am not wrong. I'm not to blame. And What is in it for me? Are you going to take advantage? I am the boss. Are you going to hurt me? All these things is right there. And this is what creates those filters, for me, which brings me back to the second law, which is how a situation occurs. The second law says arises in the language. Arises in the language. We may think that, oh, it is arising, but it is always the language. Language is the means through which your future is written, whether you believe it or not, but you think about it. And I would really encourage you to sometimes get this book and read it. They will become, we may not have the time to understand it in a little more detail, but it also therefore means that if a situation occurs, arises in the language that I'm hearing, seeing, the verbal, non-verbal, both kind of languages. It also means that if I have to rewrite that, my understanding, it should also be in the language. So using the knots of language begins with seeing that whenever you are saying something, there is other communication, like, I'm shaking my hands, the way I am looking at you, and there is other communication is getting carried along with my words. And this phenomenon is called what is termed as unsaid. It is unsaid, I'm not saying it, but still gets communicated. The unsaid, depends on so many things again, assumptions, expectations, disappointments, resentment, so on and so forth. Almost individually, almost universally, it is this unsaid which clutters, that cluttering, my difference in terms of seeing things is what creates the unsaid. So before anything new can happen, any particular new way that I can see things, and therefore my action should also move in a new direction, I have to clear out my closets of this unsaid area. So there are two compelling insights really here. One, how the situation occurs to us is given by language, as I said, yet it may be, I am telling you through language, but it occurs to people as real, like a wall. Once that language you have accepted, it occurs to you as a wall. The second, we can untie this knots of language by using a different language. We'll see how that needs to be done. But to do that, you have to clear out the unsaid. And so, and then only you can deal with it. Now, so what could we do to shift the occurrence situation to enhance our performance? Because it is only by that shifting that occurrence can I therefore change the way I'm going to respond to any situation, and to make room for that, for new and better conversations, clean out the clutter. I come to something very interesting called rackets. All of us have these rackets, and you may think that the racket is not there, but all of us have rackets. And I will share with you, a racket which I used to have some years back. So, at that time, I was very frustrated with my job then and my work profile, and I perceived a lack of autonomy, people sort of, getting into what I'm trying to do, and, things like that, people were interfering. That was my perception. That is what was my occurring. That, I am getting interfered with, I am not getting autonomy, and so on. So the complaint, and there is always a persistent complaint when there is a racket, was a sense of disempowerment, helplessness, lack of authority in my area of responsibility, and a loss of interest. That was my persistent complaint. Now, notice one thing, how this complaint really was an interpretation of facts. It was interpretation of facts by me. It was not the facts themselves, but the facts, the way I interpreted, they became facts for me. My behavior shifted to, because of that persistent complaint, I became detached, aloof. I lacked transparency in what I was trying to, and I was putting on an inauthentic facade. I was at times increasingly avoiding taking responsibility. I was not taking initiatives. I was becoming more and more reactive to such situations. And there is always a payoff in a racket, a payoff. That is why I'm having that racket continue with me. The payoff for me at that time was, oh, but by doing this racket, I am still in charge and I am quote unquote successful. Somehow I was retaining my external image and what I thought, respect. no one could call my crap, though I was very inauthentic. And of course, I was getting a salary and benefits. So those were the payoffs. However, the cost, look at the cost that was happening to me. And inauthenticity, which was actually, like termite, it was sort of, eating into how I was showing up to people, a lack of integrity, in terms of I'm telling something and not doing it. Loss of peace, always a racket leads to a loss of peace for each one of us, and inner joy. There is no inner joy. And in my own mind, there was a lowering of self-image and self-respect. As I said, we all have such rackets, and I would really, encourage you to try and figure out a persistent complaint in your life. Look at that. Try to create that, the complaint, the behavior, and the payoff and the cost. And as soon as you do that, and I assure you, if you are able to communicate this to others, to anyone, to your wife, to your very close work, you'll find that this will have a dramatic impact on your performance. Which leads me to the third and the last performance law, which really is all about future-based language, and it says transforms how situations occur to people. Now, there are two kinds of languages which you use, and all of us, something called a descriptive language, right? A descriptive language is I can describe something. So if there's an occurrence, there is past, I describe that, look, this is how it happened, this is what is happening, describing. But there is another kind of language which we call the generative language. And it is this generative language, which we call the future-based language. This has the power to create new futures, to craft vision. And you'll see the great leaders always could separate themselves out, be it Mahatma Gandhi, be it Nelson Mandela, be it great people in the industry. And they could always use, and they learned, and they were experts in using this this so-called future language. So this is the third law. The future-based language or the generative language transforms how situations occur to people. And when the situation transforms, then you are not chasing priorities. The whole situation transforms in one, and of course there is an alignment. You are taking care of concerns of other stakeholders, and then you are able to move forward in a very transformative manner. There are three conditions. I will end with three conditions with regard to this future-based or the generative language. The first dimension is seeing that what binds and constrains us isn't really the facts, it is the language. And in particular, the descriptive language and the issues that lurk. I talked about the unsaid area, the descriptive language, and the unsaid area, things which we have not closed with other people, and they occur as facts to us. This is the first dimension. The second dimension is articulating the default future and really asking that, is this really what we want as our future? And the third dimension is the ability to create a blank space, which is a very powerful dimension. And you do that by completing issues from the past. How do you do that? So if there are issues with somebody else, with your colleague, you actually talk it out. You allow that unsaid to be brought out. You actually apologize. You actually write apologetic letters. You say, look, yes, I was holding this. I was, inauthentic in this manner. You do all that. And once you do that, you start a conversation with the other people. Those issues which are there in that future, in my future, that unsaid future, go back into the past. And a slate opens out, and that is where I can create. So concerns of people, become very important. Stakeholder concerns we need to take on board. And that is how generative language, the brief, short, I'm sorry, maybe I've taken a little bit more time, but I wanted to sort of give focus on a few of these things. Thank you so much. I'm happy to take any questions. I know it's a rush thing, but thank you very much. I will stop this share, if that's okay. And yeah, so I'm happy to take any questions.
Thank you so much. That was a wonderful review of the book. Let me keep it open for a few minutes. Otherwise, maybe then I can call a few.
Yeah.
Sorry, say that again, Anil.
I'll keep it open for a few minutes. In case if you have any questions, maybe you can ask Shakti sir.
Right. Shakti, thank you for this very generous sharing of this book. I have been interested in reading this book for some time. I have known of this book for a while. The authors are senior people at Vanto Group, which is associated with another program that I did many years ago, the Landmark Forum.
Landmark, yes, absolutely. Vanto actually, the Vanto Group is the parent.
Corporate
is the parent and Steve Zaffron was very closely associated with the landmark programs for quite a while.
Correct. No, I am currently in a program of the Landmark Group, so I have a bit of background. The Vanto Group is the Landmark organization's corporate outreach. So my question is essentially some of the themes that we learn in the Landmark Forum have been corporatized and they make exceptional sense that, you know, when you look from the background or the past, you can't solve an issue at this level. Like, I think even Einstein said something about a problem cannot be solved at the same level that it was created at. So we got to have perspective and this thing of possibility and the language. So have you seen this context play out in any of the corporates that you have advised or consulted with?
Several. Okay, now the 3 laws of performance is a very crisp kind of a book, and it talks about these 3 very cryptic, very simplistic, very simple quote unquote laws, but okay, they actually flow out of what is what is called as the ontological phenomenological methodology. The ontological phenomenological methodology is a large thing under which, you know, you saw is one very great question that you may ask is that, look, how do I, for example, I'm watching a tennis match, and so let's say you are my coach and both of us are sitting in the stands, and 2 of the best tennis players are playing the tennis match, and you are saying that, look, Shakti, see, when he cuts the ball like this, this fellow hits it like this, and when he spins the ball, he should be playing it in this manner. And I see it for the next 7 days, and I now know exactly, you know, what I need to do. Then you say, okay, now my friend, take this tennis racket, go into the court, can you play? The answer obviously is I will not be able to play. So the ontological phenomenological methodology, actually, until and unless you are out here into that situation, into that problem, you have to be there. You cannot be learning anything standing outside, right? You have to be inside. Then only it happens. To answer your question very specifically, I applied it in my own career, but of course a little later in the day because I did the program and I was pretty old. But after that, I actually have run programs for, I can tell you, 2 large corporates. One is Larsen & Toubro in the heavy equipment division, which is into the mining equipment, the Komatsu and the Caterpillar kind of equipment, one area. And the second is, you know, RP Sanjeev Goenka Group, you know, the services side, the electricity distribution side. And we have worked with groups, not one, several of them, wherein when you sort of are able to get this to be internalized, and internalization doesn't happen by your doing a 1 day or 2 day workshop. It requires handholding. It requires handholding for between 3 to minimum 6 months. When you do that, then the language, the way you are able to see a situation starts shifting. Once that happens, once you learn the how generative language, one is a very simple way of using is a declaration. I declare something, a declaration itself creates a future. And the fact that I've declared to you that Gaurav, you know, I'm going to do this by such and such time, and such an is now becomes a future which I am held accountable to. But many of us, you know, we don't use this language. We go back into using descriptive language. That's what the three laws say, really. It works. To answer your question, I can see it having worked. If you are able to implement it right, and there is a process of implementing it, it works every time. But you know, anything else in life, it requires practice. You need to be you need to have that passion to sort of do it every time. Start doing it once a day, then do it twice a day, and that's how we sort of get people to do it. Listening, listening without judgment is such a powerful tool. We always do this already, always listening, but listening without judgment, if you can train yourself, you will see your performance will jump something like twice or three times from what it is today. Because the other person then realizes that what he's saying is landing the way he wants it to land for you.
Great.
I don't know if I answered the question.
You did. I was wanting like some kind of a case study or like a example saying Larsen Toubro was here. I suggested this happened. By the way, I was again reminded of John F. Kennedy's thing to put a man on the moon and get him back. So like we always crave for leaders like that who envision something and facilitate or provide the context for things happening.
Absolutely. Context is the main thing. Context is what needs to be shifted every time.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, Shakti, sir. Thank you, Gaurav, sir.
Thank you.
Sindhu had to leave, so I will be remaining the host for. I will be the host for the remaining part of this. May I now call upon Anil, sir, to introduce the second speaker.
Yeah, maybe before moving on, I think I can see a lot of people from the corporate background. Maybe one or two I can call. Maybe Lakshita, are you there still? Before I move on to. Is Lakshita there? Okay. Somasa, you want to add anything further? Please unmute.
Lakshita is there, I think.
Okay.
In fact,
I'll call her back. I'll call her after a few minutes.
It's actually Shakti Ghosalji. This is your flow is like a rain, like Kerala rain. It's continuous and amazing. The passion goes on, and you will ensure that the participant listen. For you, I think the communicator's efficiency is so good that we cannot be thinking anything else. That is a power you are having with your speed, power, and I was just focusing clearly, not thinking anything, but still difficult to catch on something, like you are stressing on that autonomical, philosophical, logical, like that. So the whole concept of very important management or a leadership element of performance through the three major areas, you have brought it very clearly within this short time. So provided you are given 1 or 2 hours, maybe you would be able to really bring the juice out of that and present it here. But amazing capability, and I think you should, from the conducting such program on this, you can write another book, of actually speaking, on the same subject. So amazing, and I think most of the people here have been really, because you have put it in a different tune and different, journal, so people are very much happy for attending today's session. So when people have missed this session, will not be gathering that much. Even if you watch the recorded, you don't get that much. Wonderful session. Thank you very much. Do come again. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir. Appreciate it.
Thank you. Thank you, sir. So what we do makes complete sense to us at all times, but yet we often question what others do as not making any sense. So this is the essence of this book.
Yeah.
And the speaker number two for today. The book is a vindication of the rights of women. The book is written by Mary Wollstonecraft, produced a Declaration of Female Independence in 1792. Okay. And a passionate and forthright vindication of the rights of the woman attacked the predominant view of passive decorative femininity and instead laid out of the principles of freedom and equal education for girls and boys. And not to forget, this was all in 1792. Coming to the speaker, Nitusmita Saikia Morris works for Ministry of Defense India, a writer, columnist, as a newspaper, playwright, motivational speaker, social worker, and a classical Kathak dancer. Welcome on board of e-Bookery.
Welcome, welcome.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, Anil sir, for introducing me such a platform where always I get chance to listen intellectual gathering. And today I'm highly feeling elated to be a speaker and a reviewer for a book. It will be a daring endeavor to give review on this book, actually. Before I start, Shakti sir, your presentation was wonderful, very eye-opening. Your lines were very, I was listening carefully, even our listeners, viewers, words also. It's very, though it was technical, but yeah, it was eye-opening. And thank you, sir. So I want to share my presentation, sir.
Yes, please go ahead. Yeah, you can share it.
Yeah. Slideshow. Beginning. Okay. Let me take you all to the era of 18th century, when entire Europe was burning. France was on the beginning of that stage where they were going to face reform changes. England, she was also at the stage where great revolution was ahead. In that era, there a lady, an author, a phenomenal person, we can say rebellion born, and her entire life was only 38 years of life. But within that short span of life, she did tremendous work towards to build a phenomenal thought, and it made her a living legend. Still, we feel her presence and her whatever argues, thoughts, information, her intellectuals, all are timeless. Not in that era, her examples, her arguments, still now also in our society, we can apply those arguments. Let's start the review with the tour of her 38 years of life. 1759, 27 April, born in silk weaving, London. 1768, moved to Beverley in Yorkshire due to failure in business by father. 1775, family moved to Hoxton, meet Fanny Blood, her childhood friend. 76, family moves to Lowhern Wells. 77, family returns to again to London. In 1778, moves to Bath as companion to Mrs. Dawson. 1780, returned to London to nurse her ailing mother. In 1782, mother dies, family breaks apart, start living with Fanny blood family, childhood friend, and 84 helps unhappy sisters care marriage, establish a school at Newington Green, a center of intellectual dissenting community of writers, reformers in London. In 1785, travels to London, Portugal, childhood friend time returned to London to her school. In 1786, meet liberal publisher and bookseller Joseph Johnson, worked as a governess for living her to earn her living, and returned to London to earn her living by writing her publisher. And 1788, writers, reviews and translation, worked as a reviewer of writers and translators for Joseph Johnson. 1790, a vindication of the rights of woman, a response to Edmund Burke's revolution. And in 1792, begin residence in Paris. In 1730, marry American author and speculator Gilbert Imlay. 1797 March, after living together for a long time with William Godwin, marries in London. 1797, 30 August, gift to Mary Godwin, who is author of novel Frankenstein. 10 September, dies from infection contracted during childbirth. This is the life of Mary Wollstonecraft. Only 38 years of life there. She showed the rebellion attitude towards the conventional attitude of those era for women. So if we read the book, immediate feelings will come that this book is based on feminism. She was a pioneer of feminism. She is believed to be that. But what my viewpoint is, she was not actually feminist. Both men and women. Actually, her main strategy, main focus was on education. She believed that education only can change our society, can bring changes in political, socio-political, economical reforms, can change a woman, can change a man, can change a child and entire society. This is actually the main center theme of her book. But why education is important? To elaborate this center theme, she had given lots of arguments from to teach moral, to hate manner, to political rights to women, economic rights to women. All these parameters she has used to put one point that if we educate our girls, not just dancing and needling and how to wear nice dresses, those aristocratic teaching, instead of doing, if we teach proper science, mathematics, everything, where she could become a good wife. Even I'm living other side, but to become a wife also, she needs education. A man can expand her on his intellectual wife. That is what her point. She always confronted, she always dared to challenge that prevailing social, economical, political belief that women are useless, they are soft, they are actually godly creation to be a very filthy. But in point also she asked all that conventionalists that if if a woman is created by the God, then in what sense you're not giving her equal rights equal to a man? You give the rights, you give her access to education and all, and see if then she fails to come to that standard, that mark, then you say, okay, God has created woman as a feeble thing. This is what, in this way, she had put her arguments. Actually, this book is, entire book is full of questions and arguments. And while questioning and arguing, she has used satirical language at times. At times, she has lots of dialogues and examples from Greek mythology, Milton's writings, Shakespeare, Francis Bacon, to make it more appealing, more it said, it is her words were full of anguish, anger, and a kind of, we can say she was suffering to see the society, in society, the degradation status of women. So in the very beginning of this book, it is the last revised edition of this book, we have been given a nice introduction by Miriam Brody, and it is a fine introduction. It is actually not introduction. I would say it is an analytical approach. It's a kind of essay on Wollstonecraft life and all those events which had helped her to liberate her from her prevailing that situation. We can say prisoner's cell, and to develop that political setup of her book and to put her arguments logically. So Miriam Brody was educated at the University of Pennsylvania and Cornell University. Miss Brody has written biography of Mary Wollstonecraft. Her contribution include studies of Wollstonecraft attitudes towards romantic love and analysis of rhetorical strategy. So today I'm going to give you the review of the book, the phenomenal book, legendary book, which had made Wollstonecraft a timeless author, A Vindication of Rights of Women. So introduction is very important, and without going very deeply in that, what kind of arguments and she has given to in favor of Wollstonecraft, I want you all to see the headings of this introduction, which will give the basis why Wollstonecraft, you know, sometimes she, by the critics, she has been misunderstood also. And the last level of critics, actually people or all the intellectual, literary, or all the critics have actually understood what Mary Wollstonecraft was trying to say. These are the some headings, titles of introduction. The liberation of Mary Wollstonecraft life and writing. We see she, her family never stayed in one place for a long time, always moving one place to one. No economic status of her family. After whenever father get frustrated for the economic instability, he will, you know, show her his anger on his wife. And Mary was only the second daughter. She always thrown in between her mother and father. So in her one of her chapters, she told that my mother was also willingly accepted those tyrannical attitude of my father. So in one example, she had told that this is the condition of an mindset during that era. Maybe I'm not wrong if I say that today's in society also so many ladies are there who actually still live that kind of mindset. And so bliss was in that dawn, the political thing of education rights. So when she wrote this book, at that time, reformists were for parliamentary changes in London, And in France also, a lot of feminists are fighting for the political, to open the political rights, social rights for women of French. So, and where Newington, when she opened her school, there also she got chance to meet all the intellectual and reformists, all the writers, and it helped her to set her mind and to liberate her and for a future, this all this bring these thoughts and to make this book. A woman plays the feminist background to the Vindication. Yes, there no doubt this book has little taste of feminism, no doubt. She was fighting, she was shouting for women, yes, but same time she always insisted upon that a man also should be empowered with proper moral education, proper education, so that he can understand, he can identify the value of his wife, not as a woman, but as an individual, intellectual individual. So we cannot say exactly she is a feminist. The Feminist Manifesto, the arguments of Vindication. Okay, now here we finish the introduction part. And so very elaborative and very fine language has been used to give introduction. Now this is the original book, Vindication of the Rights of Women. So basically in the very outset, I told that entire book is full of questioning and arguments. See, and what's in support of her argument, she has given a lot of examples and lot of satirical attack on the Puritanism or reformist, and especially writer like Rousseau and Burke, writer like Burke, and Thomas, and all other contemporary feminists also she attacked them, because she believed all the feminist, contemporary feminists, though they were fighting for rights of women, but somehow somehow those feminists were still accepting that submissive status of a woman. They didn't want to confront openly, but in the contrary, Wollstonecraft had attacked directly that we are in favor of all these arguments. She said that moral is important than manner, because manner is affected by environment. When money, when that time there was a wind blowing of aristocracy, and this aristocratic family, they believe that, because this time industrialization also was growing up, so because of that development in economic cotton industry and all, people were newly becoming rich, and they start to behave that believe that if we maintain that manner in a society where all powerful persons come, and if we manner, though their minds are empty, if they know how to sing, how to please with their nice dresses, then only the ladies or like man or women will be treated well, and will be treated as respected person, respected people. So here she argues that this manner may be affected by the power. When people gets power, it destroy the powerful one and make the poor one to suffer. So before teaching all this fake manner, because to teach this manner, the aristocratic families send their young girls to school, where they have been given teaching lessons how to sing, how to dress up nicely, how to please a man. So here she said, if we teach proper education, then a girl or a boy, he will be lovable towards animal, towards sport, towards society. He will be able to understand his duty towards society, towards family, to his wife, to husband. Because when the girls, when we teach our girls to please, how to please a man, just she will be a good wife, yes, for some time. But beauty, when the beauty will fade, that at that time the husband will leave, husband will go to, or he will practice some infidelity, and at that moment, how can we expect a woman be an honest wife? Because she all the year, all the time, she was busy in pleasing a man, and that teaching, that hypocritical manner stopped her, restrict her to see what was her duty towards her children, towards her family. And when a lady, when a woman cannot take care of children and family, how can we expect of her giving some aid or duties, fulfilling duties to our society and nation? So in this kind of arguments she has given in her book. And here, education, lots of policies and ideas she has put about national education. She believed that boys and girls should given the practice we now do together. They should go to same school. From 9 onwards, they should go to different schools for different curricula, different subjects, and this way a lot of I won't say all the argues and principles she has given in her book, but yes, if we read thoroughly this book, I believe all these argues, all these techniques, questions still applicable in our society for development of our education, for development of our women condition, for development of our political, social issues also. So these are some titles of our chapter, and by reading the heading also we can grasp what kind of subject she had covered in our chapters. The rights and involved duties of mankind considered, the prevailing opinion of a sexual character discussed, observation on the state of degradation to which women is reduced by various causes. It is they one in one set in one term they will say God has created woman as a feeble thing, and in different term they will not allow all the facilities to woman as equal to a man. Give all the facilities equally and then see the competition between man and woman, then you can prove that yes, God has created woman as a feeble thing. So in this way, then last chapter she said morality undermined by sexual notion of importance of a good reputation, that is aristocratic manner. He actually attacked the aristocratic manner. She was very and the last 3 chapters, parent affection, duty to parents on national education. So we can see in the last chapters, she was not confined to feminism or feminist thoughts and ideas. She was well aware, well articulated about parental affection. But here also, a girl who is, who has been brought up in this way, she knows only to dance in a ballroom, to like John Anston book, that Pride and Prejudice. There we see how the ladies were, how the mother was trying to get her girls to get married with some rich person. This actually the situation was prevailing in that era. And here she put her argues that if a lady insists a girl to please a man, then after getting a good husband, will she be really stay honest to her parents? So, because at that time romance, love, and all the fake beauty and maintaining status and all will keep her busy. So where is economy, where is society, where is her husband's duty? The duty to parents and national education, these are her last chapters. And some style, because it's such a big book, such a thought-provoking, and as a students of literature, I several times I gave read to this book, but it is not easy to give review in depth about this book. It's full of lot of things, but I tried my best to give a short, a brief information, brief review of this book. Her language are like full of satirical words, full of pun, full of classical classical style, like using some examples from Greek mythology, authors, and the metaphor has used, like it will feel you amazed. Wow, she's attacking, but in such a polite, standardized way, in a classical manner. She was attacking her like enemies, reformer enemies, social enemies. Mind-blowing. See, Baron Blooming, somewhere she used splendid slavery, mock patriotism. Read excerpt from her book. Like the flowers which are planted in too rich a soil, strength and usefulness are sacrificed to beauty, and flaunting leaves, after pleased a fastidious eye, fade disregarded on the stalk, long before season when they ought to have arrived. They can now feel this child has used indirectly every word she was attacked. She was is like a dart. Language was like like dart, attacking by sentence, and very elegant way she has used language. Man has been held out as independent of his power, who made him, or as a lawless plant from its orbit to steal the celestial fire of reason, and vengeance of heaven lurking in the subtle flame, like Pandora's pent-up mischief. So these are, and I shall try to avoid the flowery diction. Here, flowery diction, she is actually attacking the writers, novelists, feminist writers, though they were fighting for women, rights of women, still they were actually hypocritic. They were like they were not open to what they actually desiring, what actually women need, what kind of rights and facilities or freedom they require to develop or to come to the same platform with a man. Okay, in this way, with elegant language, sharp language, somewhere she has become very rude, somewhere she has become very straightforward, somewhere she has become very satirical. So this is where she has phenomenally put her thoughts and ideas. So now, part, why we should read this book, and who? We all know what is happening in our society. Every day we are witnessing the plights of women. It is not, we cannot say that today in the entire globe, all the women have empower. There are so many sections still starving for, basic facility, basic freedom to feel that we are actually human being. We have some rights to live as a human being. So still that stereotype style our women are still maintaining, following, and in simultaneously even man also not actually disinfected of all the stereotype thoughts that women are weak, women should be stay lower to a man, women should be like submissive to a man. So in that case, our students, we thinkers, what we believe that when we give a biography to read, when we give a biography to students to read, they get a chance to face this, get a chance to listen. There's all these authors, how they in those conditions, severe social ups and downs, they fought, they won their life, they struggled a lot, and they came out like a finer. So I would say that this book will give that kind of inspiration, not only to the ladies, for the man, for students also. Where are the issues in society? We have to raise and bring some changes. That's all. Here I conclude my review. It's a very heavy book for me, and I dare to review this book. It's a very heavy book. It was, and I tried my best. I hope I did something phenomenal also, I would say. Here I conclude my review. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Nitusmita ji, for the wonderful review. You took every part of the book chapter by chapter and explained why and how it is required. Thank you so much for this amazing and wonderful review. Om Prakash Lalwani, sir, would you like to speak? I can see you're writing a lot of messages on the chat box. Would you like to speak, sir?
So please unmute. Unmute.
Please
Yes. Go ahead, sir.
I was just typing what I had to, but the first thing would be to decide or reflect upon the title of the book, The Tour. To me, Shaktida would correct me because he is more knowledgeable about this. A tour is something which is conducted and planned. Now, this woman, I mean, she moved on, from one place to another. So I would just like to judge. I would like to read the book and see whether it was a tour or it was just a rolling. So that's a question that has to be answered. Okay, because tour is essentially, guided and planned. Okay, so I have to decide on the title as such. Number one. Number two, yes, I would think that the brutal and raw male, physical power was in dominance through ages. Okay, but it is definitely waning with the women, acquiring soft skills, because the only act of empowerment in old ages was when a woman, delivered a baby, and that to a son, because delivering a son was possibly the first empowerment that she received in her immediate family and society. Okay, but that too was not in her own right, but just by being mother. And that is why I possibly the role of mother has been, eulogized, and, it has been given so many appreciations or whatever it is. Okay. But yes, as I said, that acquiring the skills is the only way out. Otherwise, we male would be what we are male, because we never like, losing that physical or inheriting, power that nature or God has given us. Because woman has been denied inheritance on every account through ages. Okay.
Yes.
So it will take a lot of time, because she has lost on every count. So I think that's it. But the title is something I would definitely critically look at. The tour.
No, sir.
Yes, sir.
The tour is actually not the title. Title is different, but it was actually, I actually took Olson Craft. This book is actually the outcome of her tour. She worked as a governess, she worked as a nurse, she worked as a many, and she always tried to earn her living herself. She never bowed down to a man. She tried to suicide 2 times for infidelity of her husband, Mr. Imle. So still she came out as a winner, and she gave this book to this world.
Yeah, but
So
then we have
her
to
life
see.
is actually a chosen, but it is she gave the meaning. She gave meaning to her soldier on this earth.
Yeah,
She
but
gave
still
meaning.
my reservation on the title remains, because I'll use something more about this.
Yes, sir.
Shaktida, it's a different dimension. You were talking about Bata, okay? So there was a time, when Bata sales were coming down. So their marketing manager, Mr. Rameshwaran, was very close to me at that time. So I told him that Bata people are buying by compulsion, because there was no other shoe available in the market. So why don't you just and that time youngsters were just not buying Bata. So I told him, why don't you come out with an ad, Bata by choice? That was a word which was given by me to the Bata team, and they successfully ran it for a decade. And then that's what changed them. They bought the product also, but that was the word I had suggested to them, that Bata by choice. Okay, so again coming back, whether the tour is by choice or by compulsion. Sorry, I'm not demeaning anything, please.
No, sir.
we are just evaluating things, and
Yes, sir.
I would love to be wrong, because I would always love women to be in charge.
My say worked out. What I plan to throw impact, working the tour.
Okay, thank you, sir. Let's call Jayan, sir. Jayan Tiwari, sir.
Hi, just a minute. Let me just.
Yeah, sure.
Hi, everyone. Well, it has been a wonderful day, of course, for me. I have not been a very literary kind of a person to read so many books of that nature. But yes, I think we all are in that perspective. We all love to, I think we know many things. I think that's where our consciousness or awareness paradigm, I think, remains. Whether I read something or not, and I really do not know whether I have the capability and the wisdom or a vision to read. So that's where I think I also keep coming onto this platform, where, because this 2 hours, I really invest in myself by listening to people. So I may not be able to read, these 2 kinds of book. Of course, one was that 3 laws of performance, and Shakti sir, it was so wonderfully given out. And I'm from army background, recently retired, and I'm pursuing now into the coaching industry. And so this is a little background, and it was a wonderful, of course, domain. It was so beautifully given. And I could only see it from my perception. We all are understanding what I feel, what you feel. And this is probably in relation to both the books. I would like to, firstly, I must thank both of you. It was wonderfully, and I feel happy for myself, because I take a lot of lessons from here. And as for the performance, I think this is the one word which is very close to every one of us, in whatever role we are, as a housewife, or I'm working or non-working, whatever it is. But performance, it has a very different, large manifestation. And to that extent, of course, when the thing which was mentioned, that it is relevant to the occurrence in the future, how it is going to be, and how I see it, that's very important, of course. That's very important. And majority of the time, we, being human, of course, we feel great about our experiences. I'm experienced, I've got this exposure, I've got 40 years in combat leadership role, and all those issues. But I think the domain, I think, lies here very simply, is like the mother. I'm trying to link both.
Yes.
That a child may do anything, but a mother, I think, still sees through and sees, understands, and tries to be there, that why today the child might be, she goes into the shoes of the child, being empathetic, and leaves it in that moment. She does not judge a lot of things based on the societal norms and various things, this and that. So that's where I think when we experience, it should not get into our heads, basically. And I think that's where more experience, so-called, when I talk that, when I am experienced, I am experienced in this particular role, I have risen to this level. I think that's where the consciousness and awareness paradigm, which must come out of that experience. And it must get, very finely, that when I'm trying to take a call, I'll not call it a decision or a judgment, but I'm trying to visualize a situation. I think that consciousness paradigm, where it is, yes, it is an outcome of experience, but it has been very smartly and smoothly taken away, so that I do not have a judgment. I'm able to see through it. And I think that's where that phrase is very importantly comes up, non-aware judgment. That when you are trying to just see as to what it is, and that's where we are able to take it. I think we always are able to lead it to performance, and probably we'll find good in managing that conflict or the environment. So Shakti sir, it has been a wonderful, of course. I think I keep noting down as to which books I must read. I think this is one book I must again read it, of course. But I only, because I read a lot of things onto the consciousness, awareness, paradigms and all. I think this is a wonderful book. And thank you very much. It is, I think, shifting of mindset from from probabilities to possibilities. And I only, when I give my talks here and there, I only say that, people say that what was there in army? I say, I don't know, because we never had a word of, fear, defeat. Yes, we all are there, but we only worked with the mindset, winning mindset. वो हारने की बात तो होती नहीं कहीं. It is very subtly. It is never taught like that. But we know that there is somewhere. That's where we train again and again and again and again. And we plan 1,000 times and 1,000 options. And we plug, and various options are there. And that's where it is. It is not related. Whenever I'll give you a small example, exactly what you mentioned is that every situation, you might have planned something 1 lakh times options. When we go onto the ground, it is never out of one of those 1 lakh options. It is always different. And that's where it is, that you need to keep your consciousness and that mindfulness, that mindset has to be intact, mindfulness, and the consciousness level has to be there. And that's where probably we become leaders which are existing at all levels. Even our sepoys, I've seen that they have been acted like so-called very great leaders at the times. They have suggested this. So this is a very wonderful book. And these 3 laws, very simplistically put across, I think they have very great lessons. It's a wonderful book, sir. I think you have brought it out so simply to put it across. And I must firstly thank you for that. It's a great book. And second, of course, Nitusmita, I've been, of course, knowing her for some time on this platform. She is a literary woman. And of course, to listen to literature is always wonderful. I always am envious of the people who are part of the literature. I am not, of course, but of course, I love to meet people who are so fondly, especially that last slide which was coming up is so wonderful to read. The way things are expressed so beautifully, of course. As far as the theme line is concerned, well, if I take little liberty, I think. Whether it is tour or whether it is rolling, I think both are correct. I think we are all correct in our own judgments, and I think it is review to review to review. Neetu has reviewed that book, and I am, of course, reviewing her review. So I think it is all it is my mind. What state I am here. I think we are all correct into that domain. It is how we take our statements or how I perceive the tour or a journey or rolling. In the literary framework, yes, it can be different. But as far as the feminist is concerned, I think this book has been brought out very well. Whatever Neetu has stated, that she has, I think, crafted out the entire book in a manner to start with as to what should be the rights and responsibilities of the mankind. And then she goes on to describe as to what she has gone through. Whether it was suffering or not, I will not use that word, but what she has gone through in various stages, she has described. And at the end, she, of course, says that, what is desirable action is for her mind. I think it must have been very beautifully, and these things are all prevalent. I think there is nothing wrong with the males, or there is nothing wrong with the ladies, I will say that way. This is how we are in our society. And sometimes in the course of time, when I feel that this is not as per the today's time, and there's a need to change, I think we all change, because we are all changing. So yes, apparently when we start deciding about man and a woman, I think that's where this is my personal belief, that we have created a probably shift. But yes, somewhere we feel that statistics shows somewhere, because this is how culturally we have developed. In various societies, various norms are there. So I think there is perfectly in order, and that book has been written from the literature point of view, and also from the revolutionary point of view, that this thing has come up, it is so relevant today. So in that way, Neetu, thank you very much for bringing out. I think today was the first time at least I heard you and this book. I think great admiration for you. Thank you very much for that. And of course, Shyamla ma'am, your wonderful story, that was the start point. Thank you very much. And Anil, thanks a lot for bringing me on platform. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Jain sir. Before we close, I would like to go to our speakers. Shakti sir. Shakti sir, how was your experience in this platform?
Well, I think first time I'm participating, but I think I can feel the kind of energy and the interest of the participants, which I think is great, because for any speaker, if you are getting that vibe, then it makes it worthwhile. And even though we are on a Zoom call, but I do get that vibe. So thank you so much. It was delightful.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, Shakti sir. Nitusmita ma'am. Nitusmita ma'am, how was your experience?
Am I?
Yes.
I think my network is breaking.
Yeah. Om Prakash sir, will come back to you. Yeah,
please
go ahead. Yeah.
My network is audible, ma'am. Shyamla ma'am, now?
Yes. Now it is better.
Okay. Say that I always feel very much privileged to be in this platform, because frankly, I'm speaking now that English is actually not my first language. My main was Chinese, but I write poetry, stories in English. But when it comes to speak in front of such a gathering, intellectual gathering, and reviewing a book like historical book, like a very heavy book, because Mary Wollstonecraft is not like a woman. She was like a legit. She is termed as, she is titled as Fire of Famine. So it was a challenge for me. And within very short time, I prepared this review, tried my best, because Wednesday I had my first dose of vaccination. Yesterday I was whole day busy in rescuing pups, doggy, and 2 puppies got died. And so whole day I was busy. And yesterday till 3:30 morning, I prepared these slides immediately, and the whole day I was busy with nursing one ill puppy, and simultaneously reading the book also. So it was a quite challenging for me. Anyway, Jain sir, always scared of your words, but still, you said I have done very nicely. Gave this review. Thank you, and inspiring me.
Thank you, Nitusmita ma'am. Yes, sir. Om Prakash Lalwani, sir, you wanted to speak. You're on mute, sir. Can you please unmute? You're on mute, sir. Om Prakash Lalwani, sir.
Oh, now I'm okay?
Yes, you're fine now.
I just wanted to know who said this in our group only. a problem cannot be sorted out at the level at which it is created. Who said this?
I think it was Anil.
It was not me, but I think it is Soma, sir. I'm sure, if I'm not mistaken.
Who said this? A problem cannot be sorted out at the level at which it is created. In response to Shaktida's.
Oh yeah, it was Gaurav Paul. Gaurav Paul. Yeah, he has left. Yeah. Gaurav.
So this is one thing which was said. Another, again, our army gentleman, I did not get his name. What was his name?
Mr. Jayant.
Mr. Jain.
Jayant.
Mr. Jain. Oh, that's my son's name.
Yeah.
And Mr. Jain, he also said that, whenever they go out, they think of 100 possibilities, but the solution lies in maybe 101st and 102nd. Okay. So obviously, our politicians had to learn a lot about it, that a problem cannot be sorted out at the level at which it was created. They keep showing the problems. So I'll just, being a person who writes extempore, I've just written 2 lines in Hindi and Urdu, and I'll share with you.
Oh, that's lovely.
Yeah. इंसान हमेशा काटता नहीं जो बोता है. इंसान हमेशा काटता नहीं जो बोता है. Man does not always reap what he sows. Okay. इंसान हमेशा काटता नहीं जो बोता है. जितना भी चाहो होता वही है जो नहीं होता है.
अरे वाह, मुकर्रर.
It always happens. Whatever you want, it always happens what was not there. So इंसान हमेशा काटता नहीं जो बोता है. जितना भी चाहो होता वही है जो नहीं होता है. Thank you very much.
Mashallah, very nice.
Well said.
Very well said, sir. Very well said.
Beautiful.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much. And with this, we would like to end our session at this time. Thank you very much, everyone, for attending the session. We shall meet next Saturday.
Thank you.
Then.
Thank you all. Thank you for coming.
Did my 2 lines bring the curtains?
And good night,
I'm sorry.
everyone.
Did my 2-liner bring the curtains? I'm so sorry.
Thank you all.
Thank you, ma'am. See you again on the next Saturday.
That is worth a million lines, boss.
Thanks, Ashadul, for coming.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Thank you all. Good night.
Good night.
Thank
ma'am.
you.
Good night.
Good night.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thanks to everyone. Good night.
Shaktida, thanks for bringing me in.
Sir, I will contact you because I'll take the number from Shakti, sir. I'll contact you in private.
Please. Thank you.
Thank you.